Everybody's chasing more and more protein, and the market is full of protein powders and protein bars and protein shakes. How much protein do you actually really need? Welcome to my new series of Stop the Protein Panic. And this is the first video I do in this subject. And what I want to talk about today is how much protein do you actually need? Hi, I'm Nira. I'm a registered dietitian. We're going to check this protein idea from all sides of it and see and understand what it's about. Our biology hasn't changed for at least 100,000 years or more. Here, all of a sudden, we seem to need a lot of protein. Everybody's chasing it and looking for it everywhere. How much do you actually need? Well, we have the DRI. The DRI is the amount of every nutrient we know according to science, according to actual research. The last time it was published was in 2022. It says what you need is 0.8 grams per kilogram weight. That is what you actually need. Now, some people say, well, that is what you need in order to not suffer a shortage of protein, in order to not get sick because you don't have enough protein. But that is not exactly true, and let me explain. The DRI number is actually made from this: a normal curvature of every population when the majority of the population is in the middle, is around the mean. And the mean is not 0.8. The 0.8 gram per kilogram is the 2 standard deviation of the normal curvature, which means this number is sufficient for at least 95% of every normal population. So if I eat 0.8 grams per kilogram, I have a very good chance that it covers all my needs, and it is not just not to get sick. For most of the population, even this 0.8 is more than they need. And those who are in the 5% to the right of the 2 standard deviation are probably people that have special needs. Some subgroups that do need the larger amounts of protein are the elderly, sick people with catabolic diseases, people after bariatric surgery or problems ingesting food, or professional athletes that really spend their time doing exercise all day long, every day, like basketball players on the NBA. But most of us, regular people who are not professional athletes, and who do some exercise here and there, and sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, then that is way too much for us. It's important to note that this calculation of 0.8 per 1 kilogram of weight, and if you weight yourself in pounds, then you need to multiply the number in 2.2 of your lean body mass, and that is important. When I do this math, I do it on my lean body mass. So let's take, for example, a person who weighs 90 kilograms, but his ideal weight, or her ideal weight, is actually 60 kilograms. So I do the math on the 60 kilograms, not on the 90, which is, of course, not very accurate. I'm not sure about it, but I can have a pretty good guess about how much overweight I am, or what is my ideal body weight. And it turns out that 0.8 times 60 is really not much. It's 48 grams of protein per day. You may be very surprised at the number you get because it is so much smaller than what you're told. And what happens when I eat too much protein? Well, I use my funny building blocks to show you. I'm zooming now on one amino acid. An amino acid is a chain that is actually carbohydrate and a nitrogen head. The nitrogen head is what makes it an amino acid. But if I have all those amino acids that are redundant and my body has nothing to do with them, they roam the body and they couldn't get anywhere because they didn't need to. So this goes into the liver, and in the liver there is an enzyme that its sole purpose is to separate the nitrogen head from the carbohydrate. And voila, I have a carbohydrate. And with that, my body knows what to do. It takes it either to use as energy in the cells, or it goes into storage. In the liver, there is a carbohydrate storage, a glucose storage called glycogen. If the glycogen is also full, and it takes space in the liver, then it turns into fat and goes into fat storage, which, as we sadly know, is infinite. But what happens to the nitrogen head? The nitrogen head, which is now in the liver, because this process happens in the liver, is very toxic to the body. So the liver works very hard to turn it quickly into another molecule, which is also pretty toxic, that is called urea. And you know, when we do blood work, you can see urea in the blood. And if you use too much protein, if you eat too much protein, maybe you see an elevation in urea levels. And this urea is not as toxic as the nitrogen head, but it is also toxic to the body. And so this goes through the bloodstream into the kidney, and now the kidney has extra work excreting all this unneeded urea out of the body. So instead of just eating a carbohydrate, pure and simple, I still got the carbohydrate, which my body needs and very happy to get. But I also got the nitrogen head and the urea, which overwork both the liver and the kidney. And if I do it on an everyday basis, they overwork every day. That might not be so good for us, especially as we age, if we overwork our liver and our kidneys. We do need them till the end of our days. Do you need to calculate your protein consumption every day? Absolutely not. I am not encouraging you to go make a second job out of it. But I did the calculation for you. I took some very popular foods, and they have more than enough protein. A regular eating day that includes a breakfast of oats with yogurt and some cranberries, a lunch of 2 eggs and in a bun or 2 slices of bread, and a little cheese with it, and some vegetables, a dinner of chicken breast and green beans and cooked rice with some pumpkin seeds. And this very regular eating day ends up to be 130 grams of protein. If I take it per a person of 60 kilograms lean body mass, it turns out to be almost 2 grams of protein per kilo. And that is a lot, and that is a regular eating day, not even indulging in too much, not eating buckets of chicken or a 500-gram steak on the grill or half a pizza pie. So in a regular, even low-calorie day, we still get a lot of protein, probably a lot more than we need. I didn't use any protein-fortified food in this calculation. My conclusion, and I hope your conclusion, is you have absolutely no need for any protein-fortified foods, yogurts, shakes, protein powder. These are all completely unnecessary for you to get. So why do they exist, you ask? Well, this is not your needs. That is marketing needs. Somebody needs to profit from your protein craze. And that is a very successful marketing policy. First, create a need that you didn't know exist, because it does not exist. You need a lot of protein. And then once you establish the need, make a lot of products to answer that need. And then everybody buys them, and they eat them for breakfast and lunch and dinner. And they fortify themselves with all this protein that you really didn't need to begin with. That is a marketing scheme. If you eat regular food and regular meals, you get all the protein you possibly need. You don't need anything else. You also hear this lovely legend about eat protein to build muscle. Could protein really build muscle, just eating it? I am sorry. No amount of protein in the world will build your muscle. Your body builds muscle only when it is convinced that you need that muscle. Let's imagine I am inside my body and I am building this lovely protein. It is a 3-dimensional molecule, usually very complicated, and is really specific to a certain action in the body, and not just anything in most cases. So I'm building it. I'm using all kinds of enzymes in order to build it, and I add some more here. That is exactly what I need for it. And it is complete. This is what my body needs now to do whatever it needs to be done. But now I have a lot more amino acid going around, just floating around in my bloodstream. There's more and more of it around, but there's no need for any more of that protein. It is enough, whatever it is enough for my body's action, and it doesn't need anything more. So I have all those amino acids going around. Do they matter? Do they add any value to what my body needs right now? They don't. They're just there. They're completely redundant. My body is very efficient. It will waste nothing. So all those amino acids roaming around in my body, in the bloodstream, all around looking for something to do. What happens if there's too much of it and they have nothing to do? Then what happens? Muscle wastes a lot of energy. Your body needs to use energy in order to build and maintain that muscle. And your body is very energy efficient. It does not like to spend any energy if it doesn't have to. So your body checks and say, okay, this guy wants to lift like 50 kilograms with his arms, and he needs more muscle in order to achieve that. Okay, let's build him that muscle. Your body uses the amino acids that roam around the body because you eat protein on a daily basis, and uses them to make the muscle stronger, and then you have the power to do it. But then you keep on lifting this 50 kilo every day, but you already have the muscle to do it, and you keep on eating a lot more protein, more and more, to build more muscle. There will be no more muscle building because your body already built the muscle you need to lift the 50 kilograms. If you want more muscle, what you need is not to eat more protein. What you actually need is to lift now 70 kilos instead of 50, and then your body will build more muscle, even if you don't eat any extra protein at all. It will manage to do that even with the regular protein that you eat. And I would like to refer you to the film Forks Over Knives. I put it in the comments below, which shows vegan athletes. Vegans eat on average less protein than meat eaters or regular eaters. In this film, they show very strong and very good athletes who are vegan, and they have no problem building a lot of muscle mass on vegan diet, which tells us you can do it with a lot less protein. I hope you understand now that there is really no need for any protein supplements of any kind in order to get your body's needs. I would love you to subscribe and press like, and I would love to hear your comments. If you subscribe, you will get the next video in that series of Stop the Protein Panic. See you then.